All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast. Now, Mike Norvell's program for the Florida State Seminoles is beginning to take shape. Thursday night's win by Florida State over the Oklahoma Sooners in the Cheez It Bowl ensured the Seminoles of their first 10-win season since 2016 when Jimbo Fisher was still roaming the sidelines at Tallahassee. A fast start to this season was key for Florida State as they began the year by winning their first four games. You think about some of the things that Florida State was able to accomplish this year. They beat both Miami and Florida in the same year for the first time since 2016. And things are really coming together for Norville at Florida State. 10 wins this season compared to just eight in his first two there. And the Noles should finish in the top 15 this year for the first time since 2015. And they should begin next season ranked for the first time since 2018. And, Norvell is quieting his critics because you think about the slow start that he got off to 3-6 in 2020, 5-7 last year. But it was one of those where you could see, and you still can see, the improvement of this football team. 2020 was a very tough year. Typically, it's one of those, there's a transition period when, one coach is fired or leaves and another coach comes in and he's looking to establish his program. And it's a transition because he's trying to get his guys in there, his type of players, the coaching staff more than likely changes as well. And then, the slow start last year, but nonetheless, it's a scenario where the expectations are always high at Florida State. And sometimes you got to take a step back in order to take several steps forward. And I think, there were some people, not everybody, but some people that were looking that, really wanted Florida State to move on from Norville. Why? I don't know. But now things are really coming together. And I think this is a good opportunity for this Florida State program to continue to build and get back to being a national brand. You think about it this year, the improving play of quarterback Jordan Travis, 24 touchdown passes to just five interceptions, and he also had seven rushing touchdowns. The Seminoles defense, which was 65th in 2021, was 17th in the nation this past season. And now the next step for Florida State is going to be trying to defeat Clemson in order to win the ACC. Florida State has not beaten Clemson since 2014, and the Tigers basically they've been running the show in the ACC over that time. So that's going to be the next step for Florida State, getting over that hump, which is Clemson, in order to reassert themselves atop the ACC. You got another solid recruiting class coming to Florida State. The expectations are getting back. And of course, the other question is going to be, is Florida State back? And for me, the answer is yes. Florida State, they might not be back to being that top five team that we were accustomed to consistently seeing in the 80s and 90s in their heyday under Bobby Bowden, but Florida State is coming back. And, it's kind of like what we saw with USC. You got a national brand that is taking several steps to get back to that level. And I think that's where Florida State is. And, just getting back to this season, I talked about it when they beat LSU earlier this year. I really think that them having an additional tune-up game, if you will, the week prior to that at home against Duquesne helped them get ready for that game. But you think like again, aside from just beating Miami and Florida, and I know that these were down years for both Miami and Florida, but nonetheless, you cannot underscore the importance of those wins for Florida State. But then, your first conference game right after the LSU game, you're on the road at Louisville. You win that one. And I know that the Seminoles had a tough go at it in the middle of their schedule, which produced the only three games that they lost this season. And it was a three-game losing streak. They lost at home to Wake Forest, losing on a tough one on the road to NC State and a tough one at home to Clemson. But they rebounded. They showed the signs. And then again, this team just simply got better as the season progressed. So now, of course, the next step is going to be trying to contend with Clemson. And then Florida State wants to get off to another solid start next season as well. They'll take on LSU again. This time it's going to be in Orlando. And I guarantee you the tables will turn because in the Superdome, back in September, obviously that was rather a pro LSU crowd. This time around, it's going to be a pro Florida State crowd. You definitely want to get off to that strong start once again and see where it takes you. But the expectations, let me rephrase that, not the expectations, but I think the anticipation rather for the Florida State fan base is growing because they can see where this program is headed. They can see what's coming. And I think it's only a matter of time before we get Florida State back in contention for the national championship. And of course, things are changing on the college football scene due to the expanded college football playoff that is coming. But nonetheless, a strong season for Florida State and Mike Norvell. He is building his program, and I think the Seminoles are going to be a force to be reckoned with, not just in the ACC, but on the national scene as well. So, folks, that is going to wrap it up. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank you for tuning into the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. I want to take this time out to thank all of you fine folks out there for tuning in. And if you have not already, please feel free to subscribe to this channel. Now, if you're on Twitter, please feel free to follow me at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you follow me, it will be my pleasure to follow you right back. There's also the sports discussion group on Facebook at the Sports Depot 365. You can check it out, drop a line, and be a part of one of the better sports debating sites going on social media. So, once again, fine folks, my name is William Martin. I am signing off, saying take care and have yourselves a wonderful day.